Hello, and welcome back to Lesson 6 of our Explainer series. Today, we're going to take a deep, calming breath and look at something incredibly practical: how to strengthen your persistence. If life lately feels a bit like you're trying to build a house of cards on a bouncy castle, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to explore some highly effective, deeply grounded ways to feel more balanced in your daily life. Now, we've covered some fascinating high-level physics in our previous General Emergence Mechanics, or GEM lessons, but today, we're bringing that beautiful abstract geometry right down to earth. Think of this as a calm, thoughtful lesson on how to build a stronger foundation for yourself, using the exact same principles that hold the universe together. So, let's dive right into this simple but incredibly powerful question. How do we actively help our own persistence? Throughout our lives, we are constantly facing stress, fatigue, and sudden changes. And sometimes it feels like we're just weathering the storm, right? Just kind of hoping we don't get blown over. But what if we could actually engineer our own resilience? What if the mechanics of the universe offer us a literal blueprint for staying grounded? We're going to treat this question like a fascinating puzzle today, breaking down exactly how we can use the mechanics of existence to actively support our well-being. Here is our lesson plan for today. We'll be looking at 1. Your persistence tools. 2. Deepening your reserves. 3. Steadying with stiffness. 4. Viscosity and faster recovery. 5. Building the sleeping suit. And finally, 6. Small nudges, big difference. All right, let's jump into Section 1, your persistence tools. Before we can build a more balanced life, we need to remember what our tools actually are. As a quick recap, General Emergence Mechanics teaches us that stable structures persist inside what we call the coherence shell using 3 fundamental tools. Those are depth, stiffness, and viscosity. Applied to biology, to us, basically, they describe our physical and emotional resilience. And here is the absolutely fantastic news. We aren't just passive victims of stress and noise. Just as a physical system can be engineered for stability, we can actively shape our own biological coherence shell through small, kind actions. Moving right along to Section 2, deepening your reserves. It's really fascinating to translate a formal physics term into a very human, lived experience. In GEM, depth is the energy barrier you have to cross to escape a stable state. Biologically speaking, depth is your resilience displacement or breakdown. Think of it like a bank account of energy. If your depth is shallow, even a minor environmental stress, like, say, a rude email or a missed train, can completely bankrupt your patience and push you to your breaking point. But if your depth is vast, it acts as a massive buffer. It absorbs those shocks safely so you remain comfortably within your functional state. So, how do we actively increase this depth? Well, practically, deepening your reserves means building up that energy barrier against disruption. You do this by prioritizing the absolute basics. We're talking about getting good, consistent sleep and high-quality nutrition. It also means ensuring emotional rest, carving out quiet time where your mind isn't actively trying to process new problems. By taking these small, kind actions, you ensure your system stays safely above what GM calls the persistence threshold. When your reserves are deep, a bad day is really just a bad day. It doesn't cause a total system collapse. You remain persistently you. Which brings us to Section 3, steadying with stiffness. Let's redefine a word that usually has a bit of a negative connotation. In this context, biological stiffness is not about being rigid, stubborn, or inflexible, not at all. It is the immediacy and strength of your regulatory response. Think of it as the shock absorbers on a car, providing adaptive buffering against short timescale perturbations. When a sudden stressor hits you, high stiffness means your body and mind immediately engage to steady the wobble. It's that healthy, instantaneous resistance that prevents a small bump in the road from sending you swerving into the ditch. Okay, so how do we cultivate that protective buffering? You increase your biological stiffness by creating healthy, predictable routines. When your body knows what to expect, its regulatory responses are primed and strong. You also set clear boundaries to reduce daily noise. Think of it like finally saying no to that completely unnecessary 5th Zoom meeting of the day. Together, these steps help maintain your biological homeostasis. You aren't making yourself rigid. You are giving your nervous system the sturdy scaffolding it needs to stay beautifully steady under pressure. Next up, Section 4, viscosity and faster recovery. In physics, viscosity describes how a fluid resists flow. Imagine trying to stir a jar of thick honey compared to stirring a glass of water. Biological viscosity describes the speed and completeness of your recovery after a disruption. High viscosity means you trap your distortions. You experience a slow return to normal, holding on to emotional stress long after the trigger is gone. It's kind of like lying awake at 2 a.m. stressing over a slightly awkward conversation you had 3 days ago. You literally get stuck in a stressed posture. To help ourselves get unstuck, our goal is to lower our biological viscosity, allowing us to flow back to our baseline faster and much more smoothly. How do we do this? Through intentional practices that signal safety to the nervous system. Deep, intentional breathing exercises physically lower your heart rate and gently shift you out of fight or flight. Gentle physical movement helps release trapped muscular tension. And active reflection helps you mentally let go of the lingering stress. By actively smoothing out your recovery process, you ensure that yesterday's stress doesn't become today's chronic fatigue. Now for something really fascinating. Section 5, building the sleeping suit. Before we look at the suit itself, let's connect the dots. We have our physics mechanics, depth, stiffness, and viscosity. We have their biological counterparts, resilience, buffering, and recovery. And we have our practical actions, sleep, routines, and breathing. If these are the mechanical requirements for an organism to recover and persist, what if we could build an environment perfectly calibrated to support all three simultaneously? This leads us to a remarkable concept from the source material, introducing what the author calls a biological coherence pod. You can think of it affectionately as a highly advanced sleeping suit. The goal, as the quote here says, is to create a controlled body-scale persistence environment to test whether biological recovery can be measurably altered. It's an exploratory engineering concept. The idea is to stop relying purely on our willpower to meditate or eat well, and instead physically place the body inside an external, supportive shell designed to artificially boost our persistence mechanics. The suit is conceptualized in functional layers, acting together as an artificial coherent shell. Layer 1 is the inner biological interface, the soft, comfortable part that touches your skin and monitors your state. Layer 2 is the posture geometry, holding your body safely to reduce mechanical noise. Layer 3 is the outer chamber shell, responsible for acoustic quieting, basically blocking out the chaotic stress of the world. And Layer 4 introduces gentle, structured modulation, like soft thermal or vibrational pulses designed to actively guide your nervous system toward a low-viscosity recovery state while you rest. Think about it. Without the suit, your body is out in the wild, constantly spending its depth and fighting viscosity against relentless environmental noise. You are doing all the work alone. That's exactly why we're building the suit, to give your body gentle, nightly support for all three tools while you rest. It gives your body a safe, enclosed harbor where the environment itself actively helps repair your depth, steady your stiffness, and smooth out your viscosity. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, small nudges, big difference. You might not have a biological coherence pod in your bedroom just yet, but you have everything you need to start engineering your own stability today. You really don't need to be perfect. Small, consistent nudges toward better persistence can make a massive difference over time. An extra hour of sleep deepens your reserves. Saying no to one stressful task increases your stiffness. Taking 3 deep breaths lowers your viscosity. These tiny, kind actions genuinely alter the mechanics of how you experience the world. I'll leave you with this question to spark your curiosity. Now that we understand the mechanics of persistence, how far can we take them? In Lesson 7, we'll start looking at how GEM ideas can help in everyday life, from sleep to stress to creativity. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep practicing those small nudges, and I will see you in the next lesson as we continue to explore the mechanics of a balanced life.